So I'm going to ask this question though. In a one-person HR department, technology technology tools can play such a significant role. What are some essential HR tools?
I had a leader. It's so funny that you asked that, because I had a leader once tell me that we should always bear the administrative burden when the benefit is greater for the employee. And I thought that was such good advice at the time. I was like, yes, I will do it. I will take every sword. And now I realize that that was such bad advice, because if I'm taking the administrative burden and doing all of these things manually, then I am not actually doing a benefit for the employee. Like, it does not make any sense at all. So I think if HR is too bogged down with all these manual processes, then of course you can't get to those strategic things. You can't focus on the people, which are, it's in Apple's, like the first thing on Apple's, what do they call it? They call it their manifesto or something less culty.
Their values. Yeah.
The most important asset is our people, right? And so to answer your question about technology and tools, I 100% Rippling. If you haven't heard of Rippling, by the way, we've talked about Rippling a lot, but if you haven't heard about Rippling, workforce management system combines HR, IT, finance, single source of truth, help your team run more efficiently. That's the Cliff Notes version. But I started evaluating Rippling as one of my first big projects at Steno, and I knew pretty immediately that I was impressed and it was going to be our solution, but it was just a matter of like the logistics, how, when, what are we going to do, all of that. We didn't have any processes, and so I was building the plane as I was flying it, trying to implement Rippling. It was chaos. Trying to get a master's degree, madness. It was absolute madness. But I really do attribute a lot of my success in my role at Steno, I said this before, to having Rippling as that primary tool. And, I'm drinking out of the cup. I'm wearing the t-shirt, all this stuff. I understand what this sounds like. I work at Rippling, but it's a total fangirl moment for me, because I 1,000% believe in this product. I would never go back to an HR role without it. So much so that when I left Steno and went to Tilt, I said, by the way, I think we should evaluate Rippling. And I implemented it again. So if I ever come out of recovery and I go back into an HR role, it's going to be with a team who's either using Rippling or open to using Rippling, because I fundamentally believe that it made me a better, more strategic HR person who didn't have to think about all the day-to-day admin work.
Yeah. I mean, like, I love your affinity for Rippling. Like, no, I love it because, like, I now have used it. And I think there's something to be said that you've used it, implemented it twice, and then went and worked there. Like, that's got to be something. Like, it's my dream. I think I was telling you this when we were talking, like, at the end of the year last year. Like, I can't think of a single product I love that much. So, like, I admire that that's it for you, because you've seen what an impact it has had. And I mean, for me, I do love Rippling now. Yeah. Like, I mean, I feel that way about Greenhouse sometimes too. Like, I think it's one of the best ATSs out there. So I just think it's like what you need in the moment that you're in it and what works best for your organization. The thing about tech that I think is so interesting is that, like, I'll be honest, I have picked the wrong solution before. I have, like, evaluated all of them, gone in one direction, picked a software, and then been like, I hate this. And I regret the fact that I picked it, even though I did my whole evaluation process. And so, like, the thing I will say about tech now, if you're thinking about it, is you should find something that's really going to grow and scale with you, which, like, you don't have to go, when you go in with an HR software, you don't have to go wide right away. Because I feel like a lot of HR softwares have, like, modules, right? Where it's like, you could pick this thing or that thing or this thing. And so I think if you're thinking about HR tools today and, like, how to even evaluate one, just pick one that scales with you, which I just think is a game changer. Where I feel like a lot, maybe like 5 or 7 years ago, it felt like there were a lot of one-off solutions that you almost had to, like, Frankenstein together, which drove me nuts. I remember telling someone, like, the average, and then that's where you all had that. The average HR team uses like 9 to 15 tools. I saw that stat somewhere.
Yeah. I wonder how many people are on that team too.
Probably way too many. They're just like, that's like bad resourcing all around. But okay, so I do remember a time in my life where I would have to go to one system, pull down the data, go to our HRIS, pull down the data, go pull our engagement thing in, go pull this thing in. And I would have like 4 different data sets, trying to put them all in an Excel sheet to understand what the F was going on. And I would
Yeah.
do it for hours. And I look back on that now and I'm like, what a waste of my time to
Yeah.
have to do that. But I feel like back then, and I say back then, it wasn't like the 1900s, but like 5 to 7 years ago, it felt like a lot of HR tools were like little piecemeals that you were like placing on top of each other, layers of a cake. And I feel like in the last few years, we've really seen the trend where it's like a one-stop shop. Like rippling to me feels like a one-stop shop a lot of times.
Yeah.
There are, I mean, we use rippling at work week. So like I'm also biased. So
Yeah.
there's that. But I feel like a lot of HR tools are moving in that direction. And I think we're going to see more and more. Like Lattice just released an HRIS and they started as a performance management system and now they have an HRIS. So I think it's going to be really interesting to watch technology in the HR space over the next few years and see how it continues to evolve. Because I just think like there are going to be some clear front runners. I mean, like you will always have your front runner. I may always have mine. But I'm intrigued to see like what emerges and what continues happening over the next few years when it comes to HR tech.
It's really kind of awesome to see how the space has really latched on to this concept of a single source of truth.